Alright, hey, hi and welcome. Alright, let's have a nice look here. Somebody told me, you gotta do the guitars from the top down. Alright, there you go. This is my Mark Holcomb SVN 7 PRS SE 7 string signature model guitar that I just got. It was probably made in 2022, but it's early 2023 now, and this is my 2006 Gibson SG3, probably a little bit dusty. Very beautiful guitar, two classic 57s and a 57 plus in it. And then I kind of rewired it myself to get a push-pull pot instead of the chicken head knob that was on there. And this is a 2022 Jackson RR5 Model T Pro Mod. Looks nicely draped across my 1991 Mesa Boogie Mark IV, Mark V, or whatever is sitting there. Mark III, Mark IV, Mark V cabinet. Very cool guitar. Okay, so the question is, I didn't want to make this all about Gibson, but what we'll say is, are Gibsons overpriced? Now, when I bought that guitar, it was $1,560 Canadian before tax. Came up around $1,800. Now, I bought this guitar this last year. It was $1,279 plus tax, came up just a little under $1,600. I think it was $1,560 actually. So two Pro guitars, roughly about the same money. Gibson a little bit more expensive. Then this guitar was $1,430. It was a little over 1,600. I think it was 1,610 or whatever, Canadian taxes and all. So the question is the Gibson overpriced? Well, quality-wise, these are the three top-of-the-line guitars. Maybe not the ultra top-of-the-line, but as top-of-the-line as you probably ever need. And I've always said that you can get a professional guitar between $1,200 and $1,600 pretty much all day long, where the guitar will be as good as a guitar needs to be. Right? So, and of course, if it's $2,000, at $2,000, pretty much the world's your oyster. What you get in that price range will vary because it depends on how glitzy you want the guitar. Now, when we look at these three guitars, the Jackson being probably the plainest of the three with just a black gloss finish on it, but the gold, hardware is really, really nice. The Gibson, obviously, really, you can see that beautiful wood grain. And then, of course, the Mark Holcomb guitar is just, whether you like the style or not, but like, the flame maple top with the burst, the bird inlays, it's just, these guitars are just gorgeous, right? And the thing is that the best playing guitar out of the three of them, for a couple of reasons, and you really do have three different guitars here, and a lot of it has to do with the scale length. The Gibson scale length is probably the easiest scale length to play 24 3/4. PRS does make a McCarty model guitar that has a 24 and 5.8 of an inch scale. It's even shorter, and I can imagine that one would be easier to play. Now, some people say, oh, I hate Gibson scale because it's too small and it's too crammed. When you get used to it, trust me, it makes everything so easy. You can chord, do the most ridiculously stretched out chords on it, and then you can sweep pick, and it's so easy to play. That Gibson SG3 is probably, with the exception of maybe the Jimmy Page Les Paul and some other SG61 reissues, that's probably the best Gibson I've ever played. Just playability wise, not necessarily sound wise. I've played some, I've played lots of Les Pauls over the years. I haven't owned a lot. I've only owned one, and it was an Epiphone Les Paul. But I've played many, Les Paul standards, Les Paul customs. I used to play a Les Paul custom all the time in the music store, and it was a rental, actually, believe it or not. It was the same as what Randy Rhoads had. Things sounded incredible. It was a boat anchor, but it sounded so incredible. But it didn't play quite as nice as this one. This one is just and again, the amount of Gibsons I've tried over the years, we're talking probably a couple of hundred. This one I always think just plays so well. And again, splitting hairs because most of them play really well. It has dressed frets, stuff like that. That said, in comparison to these other two guitars, there's not one guitar that you're looking at here. If you can't play it well, it's not the guitar's fault. It's you. Go take lessons. Uh, these guitars are about as easy to play as a guitar can be easy to play. That said, the hardest to play here would be probably the 7 string because of the 26.5 inch scale length. It takes a little getting used to and stuff like that, but this one plays, this 7 string plays very, very, very nice. I've tried a few of them over the years, and this one seems to really, I mean, if you get a 25.5 inch scale length like this guitar, so we got 3 different scale lengths here. You can get a 7 string in that scale length, but it probably isn't going to sound as good because you need that longer scale length to get the right tension on the strings so that it doesn't sound flubby. And that's what I found with the shorter scale length 7 strings. You can get away with it, but it's with 25.5 or shorter length, you're probably best off to stick with a 6 string. You try it, see if you like it, but it's one of those things that when you don't have the proper tension on your strings, you're never going to get the full ability of what the guitar can do. And all 3 of these guitars have pretty good string tension, and they're all professional guitars. You would do a world tour with any of them. Of course, you'd have to, my SG3's in, 18 years old, so it, needs, rewiring and so, things get crackly over the years. But yeah, other than that, like I've never done a truss rod adjustment on that SG3, never had to. Hopefully never have to. That neck has just stayed straight forever and a day. Only had it on stage once, but like the amount of hours on that guitar is just ridiculous. It's let me think now, the 3rd longest guitar I've ever owned. The 4th longest guitar I ever owned is a 61 reissue. So my longest guitar was my first guitar. It was a 1968 Harmony Rocket. And I didn't pay very much for that. What am I doing for time? Oh yeah, I still got lots of time. Anyway, that guitar I had for 22 years. And then I had a couple of other guitars. The Ibanez I have acoustic. That guitar I've had since 2005, so that would make it, what are we, 18 years. 18 years? Yeah, I guess, yeah. Wait, hang on. Let me do my math here. No, I got it in 2004, I think. No, we'll say 2005. So 2005, yeah, 18 years. So this one's 17 years then. Okay, so the second, okay, so the longest guitar I've ever owned was the 1968 Harmony Rocket at 22 years, followed by the blue guitar sitting in the mess back there, that Ibanez AEL-10. I've had it for 18 years, this 17 years, and then I guess 16 years I've had the 13 years I've had the SG61 reissue, and I had a Epiphone Les Paul for also 13 years. Then all the other guitars just kind of drop off from there. Yeah, so these guitars, how long will I own them? I don't know. It's hard to say. I really want to get these things out on the stage again. These 2 are very new, so I'm hoping to do that this year, but we'll see. We'll see how it works. It's hard to find bands and stuff like that nowadays, especially when you live up in the countryside. There's just, you can do acoustic stuff, but it's hard to do electric stuff. But as getting back to the topic, yeah, you can get a pro guitar for probably under $1,000, but there's so few of them that would make the grade, right? But if you're talking about, okay, bells and whistles, as good as a guitar can get, between the $1,200 and $1,600 range, you can get the glitzier guitars. Maybe not the full glitz, but something pretty flashy. So when you compare it, like again, these 3 guitars, when you compare them, although these 2 are more similar, and this is more of a classic sound or whatever, you could say easily that that bang for the buck, that guitar's definitely worth every penny. You know what I mean? And so is that one. So are they overpriced when they do what you need them to do? It's just what genre you're in. If you're a metalhead, you're probably not going to care much for the SG. If you're you know, a blues guy, you're probably not going to care for, you know, too much for the Flying B or the, you know, high output, you know, Holcomb guitar. You know what I mean? Like the 7 string. So it's going to be different for each person. But no, I don't think they're like. Now, mind you, a modern SG standard now is, I think, getting outside the price range of what the guitar is worth. They're like $2,500, which is just. But then again, if you're a working musician, uh, you know, I'm not a working musician right now, but if I was a working musician, I don't know if that would be too much, because if you got a good, reliable guitar that plays well and holds up well, um, what's that worth, right? So anyway, I'll leave it at about that, and you guys tell me what you guys think, and there we go. So have yourselves a great day, eh?